Hi everyone. Today I'm talking about INFJs and INFPs and aging narcissist parents. I don't get a ton of emails on this topic, but I do get steady emails on this topic. I'd say at least one a month from an INFJ or INFP personality type who is dealing with an aging narcissist parent. I want to say, first of all, this is a really hard situation. It just is a tough one to get through, and there are no easy answers. So if you are an INFJ or an INFP and you're dealing with an aging narcissist parent, or just a narcissist parent overall in general, my heart goes out to you because it's just not an easy situation, and there are no easy answers. There's a lot of emotional turmoil we go through when we are dealing with a narcissistic parent, whether they are younger or older, or they have health issues, or they don't have health issues. What tends to happen with aging narcissistic parents is that streak of narcissism in them comes out even more strongly. And this happens with everyone as we age. If we have wounds or we have dysfunctional behavior, we have dysfunctional patterns in our lives, in our personality, and we don't do any work to heal that. We don't do any inner work to shift that. And with a lot of people, they're just not interested in that. They don't want to work on it. They don't want to shift. They don't want to heal. As we age, those patterns tend to become calcified. They really solidify and become very, very rigid. So if you have a narcissist parent or you have a narcissist in your family and you're now seeing them get into their 60s or their 70s or their 80s or beyond, and on top of that, they're dealing maybe with health issues, they're dealing with a lot of negative emotions around aging, they might be dealing with financial insecurity, they're dealing with a lot of the challenges that come with old age. That narcissistic streak, it's going to get really, really strong. A lot of their protective personality mechanisms are going to come to the fore. They're going to come raging to the surface. And if you are one of their primary caretakers, you're the person who's going to bear the brunt of that most of the time. So I do want to say just right off the bat, it's a really hard situation. On top of that, a lot of INFJs and INFPs, obviously because this person is your parent, feel a sense of duty and obligation to show up for them, to be present for them, to take care of them. This goes a little bit deeper even for INFJs and INFPs. Someone who's another type might feel duty and obligation, but for INFJs and INFPs, we tend to really feel a deep sense of wanting to help the person, wanting to help that aging narcissistic parent, even if the parent could not be there for us in the past. Even if we were deeply disappointed by the parent, we felt betrayed by the parent, maybe we were even abused by the parent, because of our makeup, because of the way we are and our natural innate compassion and empathy, we will tend to really want to be there for them as they age and they go through these struggles. And we will definitely have the yearning, I would say, the yearning to help them change or help them shift. For INFJs and INFPs, growth is very important. It's a main priority in life. And so when challenging life situations happen, we might get thrown for a loop, but we tend to very quickly say, oh, how can this be a growth opportunity? How can I use this as a soul lesson? And so with an aging narcissistic parent, as they're hit by these challenges of old age, we might really have this calling to show up for them and say, oh, this could be a really great growth opportunity for them, and maybe they'll finally shift. Maybe they'll finally heal these patterns that have been dysfunctional for so long, that have really been unhelpful to them. Maybe they'll finally see the light. That doesn't often happen with aging narcissistic parents, sad to say. It's not to say it can never happen, but it doesn't often happen. So what ends up with an INFJ or an INFP child who's dealing with this situation, we'll have that glimmer of hope. We'll have that hope that things could finally change, they might shift, they might change as a person, and then our hopes are dashed when we see that's not going to happen. And this can even happen right up until the point where the aging parent is transitioning from life to death, and they're making that dying process transition. Right up until the very end, we might retain hope of, oh, they might change, they might finally see me, they might be able to show up in an authentic way. That, again, doesn't often happen, but for an INFJ or an INFP, we might hold out hope until the very end. When we don't hold out hope, there's usually a period of resentment and sorrow. And all the stuff from our childhood comes back up. All the ways we felt not seen, not validated, dismissed, ignored, mocked, shamed, gaslighted, undermined, all of the stuff that comes with dealing with a narcissistic personality, it will all come back to us when we really see that our aging narcissistic parent is not going to make a change. They're not going to shift. Part of us always wants to be seen by that parent. And this is really what's going on. Part of us always wants to be seen by that parent, that inner child part of us, and never gave up that might be a possibility if we were only good enough, or we were perfect, or we did things in exactly the right way. We pleased the parent. We became exactly what the parent wanted, and we measured up to their narcissistic demands and standards. Part of us, that younger part of us, that inner child self, maybe thought or believed, well, if that happened, then I would finally be seen by the parent. They would be able to see me for who I am and love me for who I am, right? So again, there's that hope. There's that eternal hope that burns within us that this parent will be able to see us. It's a deep, fundamental yearning that things could be different. It's a wish that things could be different. And of course, we all have that if we've had a narcissistic parent. If you have grown up with a narcissistic parent, whether they were abusive, physically or mentally, or not so much abusive, but just really couldn't be there for you, they were really wrapped up in their own life and their own stuff and their own self, you know that that's one of the hardest things to deal with, is that unavailability of that parent, that failure you have that you could ever really connect with them. It's really hard to connect with a narcissistic parent. They are threatened by honesty. They're threatened by authentic communication. They're scared to death of vulnerability. So you probably have had the experience over and over again of trying to connect with that parent only to be shunned or punished, or the parent just fled, right? Whether they fled mentally or they fled the situation physically and they actually left and didn't come back. But over and over again, we've experienced that sense of abandonment. We try to connect with the narcissistic parent. They can't do it. They might even be threatened by it. And then they flee in some way or they punish us in some way, and we feel betrayed or abandoned or both. So dealing with an aging narcissistic parent, all the stuff is going to come up again. All of the patterns, all of the triggers, all of the stuff you remember from your childhood. It's not fun, but we can make peace with this if we work on accepting what is. We work on accepting the fact that the narcissistic parent, they cannot meet our needs. They cannot see us. They cannot show up for us. They cannot offer us compassion or empathy or understanding. They don't have the capability of doing that. And it's not our fault. It's not about us. It's actually not personal, even though it can feel very, very personal when it's happening. And that younger version of you will cry out and say, oh, I'm not good enough. If I was better, if I was perfect, mom or dad would love me. That's simply not true. The narcissist doesn't have the ability to love in that way. So it's not actually personal when this is happening. And however much you might wish it was different, it's not different. So that's really where we can come to a place of peace, is seeing our aging narcissistic parent for what they truly are, who they truly are, without anger and without blame and without judgment. That might be really hard in the beginning, but just seeing them in a neutral way, seeing that they don't have the capability to go there for whatever reason. Maybe they have abuse in their own past, which is usually the case with narcissists. Maybe they have unhealed trauma, again, usually the case with narcissists. But there's something that happened to them, or there's something that's going on with them deep inside their own personality that makes it impossible for them to connect. And that's not our fault. That's just the way it is. So the work here is really letting go of needing anything from that parent, letting go of needing them to see you, needing them to validate you, needing them to understand you, letting go of having those needs from them. You can still have those needs. You can still really want to be seen and validated and understood by other people, but also understanding within yourself that with this particular person, with mom or dad or whoever the aging narcissist is in your life, it's simply not going to happen. Their patterns are locked in. They are what they are. They cannot give you what you need. And so you need to go elsewhere to get those needs met. It's very important when you're in a situation with aging narcissist parents like this, that you are getting those needs met elsewhere. You are connecting with others who can really see you and really validate you and show up for you, and they can love you for who you are. It's also very important to enlist support if you can, so that you are not the only caretaker or you are not the primary caretaker. I know that can be hard depending on finances, but it all the time doesn't have to be you making a financial investment and hiring another caretaker. It can be talking to siblings, talking to cousins, having honest conversations about the fact that you need help caregiving for this aging narcissist parent, and it can't be your responsibility alone. I am teaching a new workshop that deals with this topic and so much more on Wednesday, May 29th. It's called Narcissists and Boundaries, and narcissistic parents is just one of the topics we're going to be covering. I get so many questions from people, INFJs and INFPs, about narcissists, dealing with partners who are narcissists, parents who are narcissists, narcissists in the workplace. How can we protect ourselves? How can we hold our boundaries strong against narcissistic behavior? Outside of narcissist, I also get a whole lot of questions about boundaries. So this is a workshop that's really great for you if you are actively dealing with a narcissist in your life, or if you have a pattern of attracting narcissistic relationships, or if you seem to have the narcissist problem wrapped up, but you're really interested in going deeper into boundary work, deeper than what is really provided by the mainstream for mainstream types, which most of the time does not work for INFJ personality types or INFP personality types. I'm going to be covering that kind of information in this workshop. Registration is now open, and it will be open until Wednesday, May 28th. So if you want in, please get in. And if you have questions, please send them to me, lauren@laurensapala.com, or you can drop a comment in the comments box below. Thanks so much, everyone. I'll see you next time.